at. Let's see, next thing I wanted to touch on was ForceBridge. ForceBridge, there's been a dashboard that's been added to Dune Analytics. I don't know if this is an official one or a community-created one, but it's now showing the statistics from ForceBridge, and it's looking pretty darn good there, I gotta say. Total trading volume over $70 million, total volume locked 18.9 million. And let's see, it says 769 unique users. And if you look at the trends there, it's pretty good. You can just see that it's continuing to go up. And as we continue to add more and more chains to ForceBridge, I can just imagine that this will continue to rise, and it will be just more and more activity on what we've been trying to do here, which is create a new DeFi ecosystem with liquidity flowing back and forth between it. So it's an exciting time to see all of that. And now you can actually go out there and watch what's going on and see how the activity is proceeding as we continue to add more and more chains to the Nervos ecosystem. Let's see. And then we have a new partnership that was just announced with Pastel Networks, which I wanted to mention because this is a pretty cool project. Pastel Network is a blockchain that's dedicated exclusively to NFTs. And they will be partnering with us to probably integrate some of their technology into Collect and probably MeBow in the future, as well as other marketplaces, NFT marketplaces on our platform. And we're also talking about how we can integrate some of their technology into our actual NFT standards. And while none of that's actually final yet, it's something that is going to be discussed. They offer some pretty neat stuff there. One of the things that I think is pretty neat is they have a system of actually ranking NFTs in a way of giving them a kind of a score, a likeness score, which tells you how unique it is. And so this is to help with the problem that we've seen in a lot of marketplaces where NFTs are just, they're basically ripped off, right? Somebody has just taken some art from somebody else and posted it and claimed it's their own in hopes of trying to sell it illegitimately to make a couple bucks. And so this is a big problem, and Pastels is one of the technologies out there that's trying to offer a solution to help with this. So anyway, the partnership is pretty interesting. We'll be doing an AMA on that in the next couple weeks. So hopefully this will be something to look for in the future. So the next one here, I'm not too sure if we actually have any statuses, but I wanted to offer it to Taylor. If we do we have anything updated on Kami? Because we mentioned it a couple times, but they haven't quite launched yet, I believe.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, they haven't quite launched yet. Looking to probably launch now closer to the end of the month. The developer who was migrating a couple of the contracts was just going through a couple of last bugs and stuff to make sure that everything is just ready to go. So they had a slight delay, but everything should be on track for probably the end of the month or early February. They're still kind of ramping up Discord and doing some giveaways and a bunch of different contests. And a bunch of the people that have already joined, I think they have 1,500 people or so in the Discord. Many of them have been kind of actively looking for clues and kind of starting the hunt. So if it's something that you've been interested in or are just kind of finding out about, I definitely recommend checking out their Twitter. I'll pin a tweet at the top here in the space, and going over to the Discord and kind of starting to understand maybe a little bit about the project. It's pretty cool.
Great. So I see that it looks like YouTube is now properly streaming audio from what I can see. So I just want to put this out there. You're welcome to throw out your questions there. Shannon's going to be monitoring the channel. Shannon, feel free to just, if you see any good questions, just interrupt us, and we'll try to take care of those. We wanted to get something that was giving us a little bit more interactivity, because Twitter Spaces, it's great for bringing people up on stage, but when we want to just answer some questions, it's really pretty clunky for that. So this is going to give us another avenue, another way to interact with you guys during the show. So let's move into one of the first topics here. This is a community requested topic that was requested on Twitter. NFTs beyond a means to monetize digital art. So this is just a general discussion topic here. Like, what does that actually mean? What can NFTs do beyond digital art? I think there's quite a bit they can do. I mean, I see NFTs as being much, much more than digital art, even though I know it's pretty common in, I guess you could say, to the everyday person. When you say, what is an NFT? They probably just see all the headlines and say, oh, well, that's just a JPEG, right? That's just a little character that somebody bought for $20,000. I mean, what do you guys think, though? What does an NFT represent to you? And what do you see it as beyond monetizing digital art?
I kind of have the idea that, what we're going to continue to see is the ability to store other types of data that can be immutable, or hopefully kind of similar to the standard that Celebrity Smackdown uses. You can update the data real time inside of NFTs. So that means you could use it for medical records. You could use it for ownership documents in connection to real estate. You could use it even, I know there's been talks of using it as simply a method of, like a ticket going to a IRL show or whatever, or how a lot of teams will say, if you hold this NFT, you're able to get into this event, we can prove it, etc. I just think there will be a multitude of different ways, as we've seen kind of with Web 2, where, you're able to verify and prove trustlessly different bits of information. I mean, even PDFs, I'm pretty sure now, over the past couple of years, isn't there like a mechanism where the actual document itself can't either be opened or changed without admin rights or something like that, if I'm correct? But something along those lines. I kind of see it going like very horizontal and how many different areas it can touch.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that a little bit. I think definitely anything that would need to be immutable or updated, like records, medical records, I totally agree with that. I think in the NFT space, you're hearing a lot of people talk about play to earn games and kind of tokenizing assets in games that could be updated or changed. So I think that'll be a big wave of a new exploration of how NFTs are utilized. One area that I feel like is maybe a little bit under-recognized at this point, or that maybe I just haven't heard as much about, but that I've been kind of talking about and will probably be exploring a lot this year. So if you're following my Twitter, it's kind of a lot of the projects I'm looking into partnering with and building, but is the idea that NFTs will really incentivize real-world behavior. So if you start to think about what does it truly mean if you can store data within an NFT, and as that data is collected or fed, use like an Oracle service or something to connect the data feed from a source to the actual NFT cell itself, what does that mean for how it can be used? Not just what it becomes, but if you think about how it's then used, for example, you can really motivate people to interact with different things in the real world. So if it is something like a ticket or a membership service, you might have different tiers of membership, like silver, platinum, gold, based on someone's activity or involvement or engagement. So we're starting to see a lot of these new Web3 applications and projects really incentivize community members for their engagement and their involvement with the project. I think NFTs will really start to be used in that way because it's a way to track and record information and then have the NFT itself automatically update and unlock different membership tiers. It could unlock anything. It could unlock access to a new application, to a site, to discounted products, to, you name it. I really think NFTs are going to be kind of the driving vehicle for how people engage and interact within communities and just in the real world.
Yeah, totally. I second all of that for sure. Like the way I always explain it is that anything that requires a signature for authenticity is where NFTs could really be applied here. So there's actually a bank local to me in the Washington, D.C. area. Right now, they are experimenting with NFTs for just paperwork, like signing paperwork or like deeds for a house even, because there's a lot of opportunities here for being able to keep track of these transactions through the blockchain as well, and manage them. So I think it has so many potential use cases in overall management of logistics, whether that's financial or supply chain related. And it doesn't necessarily have to be artistic or like community based or have even a significant amount of worth or even any worth at all in some cases. There's just a lot of opportunities when it comes to signing something off and proving like this is legit. An NFT could be used instead of a signature. So especially as the world becomes more and more paperless, I think we're definitely going to see a lot more of this. For sure. Shannon, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Not right now. I'm trying to monitor the YouTube and the Twitch stream or Twitter stream at the same time. So I'm just focusing on that.
Okay, sure thing. Yeah, just let us know if anything goes down with the YouTube live. Again, this is our first time doing this setup right now. And the cool thing is, though, is that the YouTube live will be added to our library of content. So anybody can also tune in and watch these Hashing It Out episodes later. So that will be up on our YouTube today. Awesome. Jordan, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I can add a couple things on that. One of the things that I think is going to come up pretty quick is like you said with the tracking aspects. Probably tickets to virtual and real events will be based on NFTs. We've seen some companies that have been trying to implement that, and of course that doesn't work too well right now with the current state because, well, for example, they were all trying to do it on Ethereum. The cost is just simply too high. You can't have a $50 ticket cost $65 in gas fees to mint. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, there's still the possibility of that happening, but it's going to happen in the future once the cost of NFTs comes way, way, way down. And one of the things about tickets to events is that they've kind of become, there's two different kinds. You have the ones that are just quick little disposable tickets. Those are probably more common, but some of these events, they actually put a lot of work into the design of the ticket itself. It becomes an art piece. And there are people who collect these things, and they have them framed in their house and everything. It's more than just a piece of art. It's also a memory. And so we might actually start to see a lot more of that, which is kind of the merger of both tickets and collectibles in the form of an NFT. And I'm kind of excited about where this can go in the future, because like the original topic by the person who asked for this, it was beyond monetizing digital art, but I actually see as monetizing digital art as a way to evolve it, because we all need incentives to do various things. It's difficult to push progress unless there's actually a reason to do it, and by allowing these new mediums to form, particularly in digital art, where there's so many new things that you can actually do with it. The creation of NFTs, which are allowing for monetization, are going to push that quicker. Like I've seen, there's certain artists that have been doing some really interesting stuff. Like I can't remember her name right now, but there's an artist, a young lady who does 3D art. She does it in VR, where she paints in real time. And she's got some videos up on YouTube, I'm sure. It's really cool to watch her be able to do this. I mean, to me, this represents something that is completely brand new. And I'm just interested in seeing where this goes in the future. And to have the possibility of monetization is where it gets really interesting, because that'll pull in more people. And what does that mean for the future? Like, I don't know how you're going to necessarily put that into your house, but if the metaverse takes off, this kind of stuff could be really a form of art where you're walking around in some kind of virtual gallery and you're surrounded by 3D pieces of art that are all being moved, and maybe they're even being generated in real time. Like this is completely new, and that's really what's interesting to me. Is I think that NFTs could be a serious driving force in the creation of new forms of art and new forms of monetization, and really just pushing forward its own technology in a kind of like a self-perpetual way.
Have you guys kept up or heard about the Gary V's project experiment, Fly Fish Club. Fly Fish Club. Has anyone heard of that about yet?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what exactly they're planning.
So essentially, they had an NFT launch. I think they worked with a specific artist, but there were two separate tiers of this NFT, and it's all centered around this one restaurant that would basically grant you access to eat at this restaurant that I guess is supposed to be like world renowned or something along those lines. But also there would be other events you would have access to, special events. I'm assuming there might even be special guests, etc. But you have to be a holder of this NFT, and also to, I guess, incentivize people that have bought the NFT. You can't just give out the NFT and be like, oh, let me send it to your wallet. Now you can come into the club. They encourage you to lease it out, which is pretty interesting. I kind of call it an experiment because who knows if it'll work. They did sell out of the NFT, and I think they raised like $10 million in that 1 to 2 minute drop time. But, it's interesting to kind of see where people are going to be experimenting with those kind of things, utilizing NFTs as kind of a piece of a foundation of whatever project they're putting out.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I definitely second that as using NFTs as sort of tickets to events. I'm one of those people that has all of my concert tickets into everything kind of hung up on the wall. I collect them. So that's one area of NFTs I've been super excited for. And it opens up a lot of opportunity for software too, to serve these use cases. Like perhaps if you're entering a concert, there should be a program that can quickly and accurately look up your chain address. I've never been to an event that was gated by ownership of an NFT before, but I wonder what that looks like when you are trying to enter the event and how they're validating that you own that. So that's something I would be really curious about. And same thing too, Jordan, with VR art. Definitely super excited about that. I, for one, just got my VR set. Finally, I caved. And one thing I'm excited to explore is the painting program, for example. I would imagine that I could see like a VR already exists, I'm not sure, where you can just immerse yourself into art. And that's like the whole game. And maybe it can get popular and then artists can be paid to have their art featured in it. That's something that I would totally be down for. And Shannon, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, we have a couple questions from the YouTube feed.
Yeah, bring them forward.
The first question was, hello, what is your marketing plan for launching CKB to the public? And looking into the FAQ documents, the CKB is a public permissionless blockchain serving as the layer 1 of Nervos Network. So I think that answers the first question, right?
I would say yes, but I didn't quite hear what the first question was. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. The first question was, what is your marketing plan for launching CKB to the public?
Okay. I think what they mean, well, CKB is public and public in the sense that it is open source, so you can view the code online. That's what public means in that context. It's already available to the public already, but it's open source, so you can find the code for it online on our GitHub.
Yeah, we have an amazing DeFi ecosystem, and we're launching hackathons as a 2-for-1 kind of publicity, as well as encouraging developers to build on Nervos Network. So we're doing a lot of things to encourage more projects to be built on Nervos, as well as development and as marketing. So second question, when will CKB be listed on Coinbase?
That is a question that we cannot answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess hopefully we'd love to be listed everywhere.
Yeah. And then a third question. There's one last question after the third one. Third question is, We saw Polygon had a huge spike in gas fees due to one single game. Do you think the same thing would happen with CKB Layer 2? Well, right now, Jordan, you want to go?
Yeah. I think that that's entirely possible. I don't think that it's very, very likely to happen in the near future, but I would say that is an absolute possibility. And that's because our layer 2 is designed to be 100% compatible with EVM and replicate an Ethereum environment. And when you do something like that, you take all the good and the bad with that. I believe that the way that they're designing our layer 2 as an optimistic rollup, it's going to have significantly more capacity than Ethereum's layer 1. But there is always that possibility. Like I said, you take the good with the bad, and part of the models that run with the account model and all that are 100% based on basically auction inclusion into a blockchain, and it being relatively inefficient in the way that it operates in a single thread manner. There's not much that you can do about that. So that's kind of one of the goals of the future that we have, is not only to replicate the Ethereum environment, but we're going to be replicating environments from other chains as well as our own, which is the cell model, which alleviates a lot of those problems. It was designed from the ground up to get around some of these same challenges. There's no way to bypass the blockchain trilemma, but you can shift things around. And one of the things that you can improve on greatly is the efficiency of smart contract execution. And in the layer 1 cell model, it is tremendously more efficient in the way that it processes things, and it can execute smart contracts in parallel rather than having to do them in sequence, one after the other, which is what Ethereum has to do. So there's a lot of possibility there for the future. But as far as the L2 chain goes, when you are replicating an Ethereum environment, you are taking the good and the bad, and it is absolutely a possibility that the fees could start to rise on it. But our solution for that is that if it really did get congested, we would simply launch a second chain. We would launch another layer 2 for EVM to alleviate that. And that's something that is a completely permissionless process. Anybody can do that, not just the foundation. So in the far future, we might have dozens of EVM chains. If that's the way the industry goes and they're just requiring that, and we need to keep those fees low, we can pretty much expand at will. And we can even go into layer 3 change. It's the possibilities of just continuously expanding are always there.
Awesome. All right. Is that all the questions from YouTube at the moment?
There are 2 more questions. Was there a recent token unlocking or added more into circulation? And I think that can be answered with CK by issuance from the FAQ section, correct? Like the base issuance and the secondary issuance? The question was there a recent token unlocking or added more into circulation?
Not aware of any recent locking. I think that everything that was unlocked, like you were talking about, some of like the founder unlocks or something. I'm not too sure about the schedules. There's actually a blog post about that, though. It's on Medium. It was written by Matt Quinn, who works for the foundation. It outlines all of that stuff and exactly what the dates were. But I believe that everything is unlocked at this point, and it wasn't too recent. It might have been something that was done a while ago. I don't think there was any major unlocking recently. I could be wrong on that, but you'd have to check the document.
Okay. Last question. Are we also going to have a ZK rollup?
Definitely, the team is looking at that. I believe that they probably will go into a ZK rollup in the future. Yes.
Alrighty. We have some new speakers on stage right now. I don't know if that was Jordan or Shannon, if you invited them up here. But while you all are here, we'll go ahead and answer your questions too, and then move on to the next topics. If you want to unmute yourself, Frisco, you may do so now.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So I just wanted to give you guys a kudos for the Yokai Swap. I am currently mining CKB with 2 CK5s and a CK box on the way. And every day, I get my deposit and then I try to match it up and convert some yoke that I've been earning and add it back into the liquidity pool. And I was whitelisted through SafePal, and it's really good. It's almost like the best thing since sliced bread, to be honest. But I just want to give you guys some feedback because I've been with it since the beginning, and it really is something that I think is going to be really good for 2022 and even going onward. So just stay on the ball. You guys are doing a lot of development from what I've been researching. And once again, kudos to you.
Thank you so much. We love that. Thank you for coming up here on stage and letting us know about that. And I'm so glad that Yokai Swap is working out really great for you and also mining CKB. That's awesome. I'm super glad to hear it. Noah, if you would like to unmute yourself now, you may do so. Noah, if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. Do we have you? Are you there? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on now to the next topic. So, cryptocurrency is suddenly everywhere except in the cash register. Jordan, did you add this topic?
Yeah, I added that one. There was a post recently it was in the Washington Post about cryptocurrency, basically saying that we've had this huge rise, and it's not actually being used anywhere to pay for things, which is one of the original intents. And that's kind of a debatable intent since obviously it's cryptocurrency is decentralized, and what you choose to use for it is up to you. And using it as a store of value being a huge thing for a lot of people. Not many people want to spend their Bitcoin, and understandably so. If you were to actually spend it, it would cost you probably a significant amount in fees, which makes it completely impractical for small purchases, especially at a register. But I think that really the reason I wanted to bring it up is to open up more discussion just around this in general. I mean, what you guys are seeing out there. Have you been using your crypto for payments in any way, shape, or form? I can tell you from my standpoint, I'm not seeing it at the register at all. I know that there are various payment systems out there, most of them being centralized, but I'm still not actually seeing it. And for a good reason. I mean, I personally think that it's right now, the price is going up on everything. It doesn't really make sense to spend your crypto. It makes sense to hold that and spend your fiat. But I'm curious about what you guys think on that.
Exactly. I'm of the opinion that fiat is, in the long term, not the greatest thing to be holding on for dear life. Hodl Bitcoin all the way. So if I'm holding it, I'm not going to be spending it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same mindset. I've been in crypto probably since, 2016, 2017 or so, which isn't all that long compared to some, but I don't think I've ever withdrawn crypto to fiat. Anything I've ever put into a crypto investment, I've either swapped or traded or exchanged or invested into an NFT and maybe flipped and put into another NFT, but I don't think I've ever once taken crypto out or bought anything with my crypto. That's just my, personal plan, I guess.
I've experimented with the Coinbase card just because I guess I've had an account for long enough that I was able to be an early user of the card itself. I actually have used it just for like little small things, going to bodega, maybe a meal here or there, which is pretty interesting. I mean, it doesn't operate any differently than if I used my debit card or whatnot. But for the most part, I definitely have kept most of what I've owned in crypto. I've kept it in crypto. But the Coinbase card has been an interesting experiment, just being able to use it, I guess, in the sense it is going to the cash register in that way. But I do see us moving further away from fiat. So.
Yeah, doesn't the Coinbase card automatically convert your crypto into fiat, and that's how it works?
Yeah, so it essentially, I've looked at the transactions. I guess I've used it enough now to kind of have a basic understanding of how it works. And I think we spoke about it a while ago, speculatively, but essentially just treats every transaction as a selling event. So from there, I mean, literally I could pay with anything from Ethereum to Algorand to Sheeb or whatever is on Coinbase that I hold. You just select it, and then it looks like a normal charge on your end. But if you go through the actual transaction history, it does show as an event where a swap had happened. Not sure how they have implemented that necessarily, but it is an interesting mechanism to use, or maybe that's will become more common, where some people are going to still use fiat, but everything back end is still crypto or blockchain related.
I was gonna say I have had to use some of my crypto for buying hardware. Sometimes you can only buy it with crypto, and sometimes to pay the energy bill, and then I'll just hollow the rest.
I see. Remind me to never ever get myself one of those cards, because I'm not quite sure if I would be able to hodl so easily. All right, so moving on to the next topic here. So Northwest Arkansas is offering $10,000 in Bitcoin to attract remote workers. And by the way, Arkansas is a state here in the United States in the Southeast. And there's not too much going on there, so I can see why they need some incentives to attract remote workers. I personally think that this is really cool. There's actually a lot of really remote states that are doing this right now. West Virginia is one of them, except they're not offering Bitcoin. They're offering just cash. But I've seen that offer before and thought to myself, well, I'd move there and then put that money straight into crypto is what I would do. I think this is really cool. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a little bit gimmicky to me, not in a bad way. I mean, obviously they're trying to expand their tech talent in the sector. They have a growing amount of. They're trying to position themselves as a tech hub, and just like with some of the surrounding areas, like in Texas, near Austin, Texas has become a major tech hub, and so this is a desirable thing for a lot of areas. Like I can see even in where I live near Sacramento, California. And just south of there by about, I want to say maybe like 45 minutes or so, is Stockton, California. Not really the most desirable region to live, but they were doing incentives as well to try to get tech companies in because they're not too far away from Silicon Valley. Like it's a long drive, but it is a drivable distance. And so they were trying to attract more tech companies over there, and they were offering all kinds of incentives. Like I think the biggest one that I personally heard of was free rent. If you opened up a business there of any kind, or you're a tech worker and something, they would basically pay all of your rent costs to get you in the door. I don't know how well they did with that. Stockton has some really nice areas, but it's also got some areas that are not too great. So, I mean, I didn't hear any of my friends personally being interested at all in that. But this is not an uncommon thing. It's definitely something that a lot of areas are trying to incentivize. And as far as the Northwest Arkansas Council, which is the one who did this, I say more power to them. Like I think that this is really, when you're talking about, they're pricing it in USD, right? So they're saying $10,000, whether that's cash or that's Bitcoin doesn't really matter because the value is actually just the same. But by taking that step out and saying actually Bitcoin, they're getting that headline out there, and hopefully they'll get a little bit more recognition to this. So, I say more power to them.
Here. Awesome. Did anybody else want to add on to that before moving on to the next topic? Alrighty, next topic. All right. One day after launch, OpenSea competitor Looks Rare sells over 100 million in NFTs. I heard about this and the airdrop, and I did not qualify for an airdrop, which was pretty disappointing. I'll have to check again though, but I'm pretty sure I did not. So yes, but I've seen so many headlines about this. They had a pretty significant airdrop. I believe it was based on how much you used OpenSea over the last year. Does anybody know?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I believe how much you spent. I think. It's
I was disappointed. I felt like I spent a good amount on there. So.
Yeah, it's a very interesting mechanism that they use to try and bring users over. I did get some of the airdrop, which was cool. But what I think has spawned from that is, I guess, conversations on, using airdrops as, some kind of a marketing tactic or some kind of incentive for platforms, and if it's a good or bad thing. Like, ultimately, is it going to benefit that community to have the airdrop? Is it just purely free money that people are going to dump immediately? I'll try and add this link that I found that kind of goes over some of the bigger airdrops that have happened over the years and just like looks at the actual data. Let me see if I can find it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think while you're going to grab that, the airdrop is obviously something that's been used quite a bit in the last couple of weeks to get users to adopt something or to at least bring attention to a new platform or a new DAO or whatever. And I think that that's great, and it's going to, probably work for most people to at least go check something out if it means that they can get a free, few $100s or a few $1,000s worth of tokens. I would probably go check anything out as long as the contract is safe. But ultimately, longevity is going to be dependent on how solid the platform is. Is Looks Rare as an NFT marketplace really better than OpenSea from a user experience standpoint and usability? And I actually messed around with it a little bit just to kind of check it out because I was pretty curious. And I think that in my opinion, they've kind of laid the foundation for a more extensive platform with more capabilities and some things that I think OpenSea is really missing. But right now, a lot of the features are coming soon. So I was shopping for some NFTs and was looking at some of the collections that I own, was looking to sell one. But you can't sort anything ascending or descending yet. And I'm sure that that's, hopefully coming fairly soon. But that makes it pretty hard for me to use it. It's hard for me to even price my NFT for sale if I can't see what other NFTs are listed at from cheapest to most expensive or sort by traits and that sort of thing. So at this point, it seems like a little bit, in its infancy, but the fact that they have their own native token that you can continue to earn for trading and you're incentivized to transact on the platform. And then they also have a staking mechanism where you can stake your tokens natively to earn, APY. That's pretty cool. That kind of stuff doesn't exist. So if they get some of that basic functionality and it's on par with OpenSea, and then they have all of this additional stuff, I definitely think, that puts them at a pretty strong competitive advantage.
Nice. I believe that the platform itself is decentralized, unlike OpenSea. So that is a huge advantage as well. And I see that you needed to spend about $3,500 in USD worth on OpenSea over the last year to qualify, which is not too much, actually. And I also heard that as you sell on the platform and you use the platform, that you keep earning looks. Is that correct?
Yep. That's right. Yeah. So you keep getting more looks tokens. You're basically incentivized to participate.
That is very cool. Yeah, just as you said, I wonder if those tokens will have any other additional utility or what. I guess we will only see. It's an interesting experiment to keep our eyes on for sure. Speaking of NFTs, this seems to be like an NFT episode, isn't it, today? Wikipedia editors vote against classifying NFTs as art. Very disappointing, but also not unusual for our today's day and age right now. Just as Jordan has said in the last episodes, and actually a couple of the last episodes, this whole outlash against NFTs as not being art is very, very similar to, when the internet arose and people were like, oh, that's not real information. It's not a newspaper. If it's a newspaper, it's right in front of you. It's a physical thing, then it's real. It sounds like a lot of that type of historical outlash that we have seen historically. What do we think?
I have honestly no idea how a digital piece of art isn't considered art. I mean that, and how do you define art? I don't know. That seems like a really weak argument to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the debate is kind of interesting, and it's around how do you actually classify this kind of stuff. Really, what it comes down to is do you actually consider the NFT itself to be art? And after reading through this, I'm kind of on the unpopular side here. I don't believe that an NFT is necessarily art. There is art in the form of NFTs, but an NFT is not art. When you look at what an NFT is, fundamentally, it's basically a big random number. And that's not what it means, right? It's an identifier. It points back to the art, but an NFT itself isn't the actual underlying art, at least not at this stage.
Got it. So this is more of like a square rectangle conversation situation,
like semantics.
Yeah.
I mean, these aren't always arts. Like, it doesn't automatically equal art. So if that's what the debate is, then that does make sense. That makes sense. Like, then we agree. And it says here, a survey and debate started on the platform at the end of December, revolving around the most expensive art sales by living artists and whether NFT art sales should be deemed as art sales or NFT sales. So, I mean, those are both. Yeah. I don't see what the argument is.
Well, yeah, the thing is, like, when you start talking about the semantics of language and all of this type of stuff, the way your language actually it shapes thought in many ways. So it's important that you get your language right. And so I understand why this debate is happening and why they're trying to push for this definition, especially on Wikipedia. Like I really do, even though I don't necessarily personally believe that NFTs are art, I admit that there are gray areas in there. Gray areas, a lot of them in there, especially when you talk about something like generative art NFTs, where the data itself, the NFT itself, its random number is used to generate that art. So it is technically, in my mind, part of that. So I can kind of see it going both ways, and I fully am behind them to make their arguments for it to be classified on art as Wikipedia. Even though I don't personally believe it, I think this is a fight worth having.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's a really complicated subject because you're right. Like, some NFTs are literally just a file that maybe, isn't art at all. And the NFT itself isn't art. And then there's other NFTs that maybe point back to art. And thirdly, like, I'm a huge, and maybe I'm biased in this way, but I'm a huge nerd for math art. And so, like, to Jordan, to your point, an NFT where the hash is used or some component of the contract is used to then mathematically generate something that, is a form of art, whether it's lines or shapes or colors, a combination of any of those types of things, that's art to me. And the whole thing then becomes art because it's all used in the creation process. So, yeah, there's a lot of different angles to that debate.
Yeah, I would say I just kind of see it more of as like a, I guess, kind of similar where Jordan was going, but also just kind of an umbrella term. I think you should be able to call it art or a utility token or whatever it is. It's, to me, more of just, it's a technology that also acts as a medium, and whatever interpretation you want to use it for should be valid, and art should be able to be classified, or NFTs should be able to be classified as art, I guess, in that respect. And I guess to kind of tie something to a real world idea that I think is somewhat similar but can challenge what we view as art. But, you know, Duchamp, you know, had the, what was it, the ready-made art that was, you know, literally he put, I think it was a toilet that was a part of an exhibition that he sold. And he's had, you know, there was multitudes of different kind of ready-made objects that he would sell. And in question, most people are like, is that art? You know, it really is up to the person who makes it and then the person who buys it, really. So in this respect, you know, I think it's a little bit kind of a misdirected shot from Wikipedia to not, you know, to, I guess, lean on not classifying it as such when, you know, it's kind of, I think there's enough history to kind of go off of to reference in that respect.
Yeah, totally. And you know, if there's anybody who's going to be having this argument, it is going to be the Wikipedia editors, and it honestly should be, since they have such a huge role in defining things for everybody on the internet. So we are approaching the end here. Shannon, do we have any more questions on the YouTube front?
On the YouTube front, let's see. We do have some questions. One of them is, are there any games that will be launched on Nervos anytime soon?
Yeah, so there's actually already a game launched on Nervos. It's called Celebrity Smackdown. The game is live. You can go play it right now. You can basically buy packs as NFTs for characters, and it's kind of like a card-based, turn-based game where you kind of pit yourself against other celebrities and other players. I'll pin a link to their, I guess it doesn't help on the YouTube side of things, but I can pin a link in the space. And for anyone on YouTube that's watching, if you just go to Twitter and search for Celebrity Smackdown, you should find it. And we've tweeted a bit about it as well. And our product team is working on a number of other games and really cool like game-based applications for Nervos.
Cool. And then, of course, there's a question about the 2022 roadmap. I don't think we have, we're not allowed to talk about it yet, right?
I believe it's in a month. We're looking at a month.
Right.
Yeah.
A month or two, latest.
Yes. We also are excited for the next roadmap, too.
Yeah. And then this is, I think, more of a for fun question by Vern CKB. And he said, when are we holding the Nervos Network CKB party when this project finally moons? I thought that was a fun question. Are we going to have a real life party for Nervos?
I mean, so we do different get-togethers, and we host things at certain crypto and NFT conferences that we're at. Like when we were just out in NFT NYC, we hosted a Nervos meetup where a good number of people from the team were there, and it was free drinks and free food, and we had a DJ. So we do host like IRL Nervos parties. A good number of us will be at ETH Denver in the middle of February, and might look at putting something together, or definitely attending some of the different after parties and events. And I'm sure we'll be pretty vocal on the social channels about, you know, what we're going to be checking out. So for people that want to meet up or get together, that's a great opportunity, and one that's right around the corner. But for the for when Nervos Moons party, I don't know. Let's throw something cool in the metaverse. I'm down.
Well, the metaverse or Bali. That was the other one. It was an inside joke actually in our internal channels that maybe we'd do something in Bali because it looks like a great place to go. And I actually know some people who went there recently. Well, not too recently, before the pandemic, said it was absolutely fantastic. But anyway, yeah, we have a lot of stuff planned in our heads unofficially for that. But that's one of those things that happens when it happens.
Yeah, I'm all for Bali. I was supposed to go there before the pandemic hit, and so any chance to finally get there and check it out, I'm all for it.
All for it. Same here. I say as soon as possible. So it looks like we have another 5 minutes. If we have any more questions on YouTube, we can take them. I don't see any here on Twitter Spaces. Shannon, are there any more questions that aren't the price or exchange related?
I don't think so. General consensus on YouTube says party in Bali though.
Oh, all right, sweet. I'm glad we got that squared away then. All right, so I'll just move on to the next topic here, and it also has to do with NFTs too. Looks like today is really shaping out to be an NFT episode. So some gamers are strongly against NFTs. We have seen this where major brands such as Blizzard or Square Enix have announced experimenting with NFTs, and there has been some backlash, similar to what we were just kind of talking about in the last couple episodes, where it's just like the newspaper versus internet argument. What do we all think of this?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that is controversial, and this kind of a topic has been a controversy for a very long time. When you start mixing money of any sort, not just cryptocurrency, with gameplay, and there's a lot of there's several articles out there right now about this, and really what they're saying is that the backlash is coming from gamers who see this as a gimmick, as a way to extract more money, kind of akin to microtransactions, which started happening. I'm not sure when they first started appearing, maybe like a decade ago, but it ended up being, there were some companies that did it right, and there was a lot of companies that did it wrong, where they would just basically sell you the game. They would sell you the game at full price, and then the game itself didn't include all the content, and then they would sell you this content progressively to try to kind of milk more money in the form of microtransactions. We're talking about just a couple bucks here or there. And so it's kind of a fear. It's kind of a fear by the gamers out there that we're going to see more of that. And also that we're going to see games turn more into the play to win or pay to win model, where you cannot actually beat this game properly or be competitive based on your skill, but you have to pay, you have to put in more and more money in order to actually get up the ladder. And so I can see that. I can definitely see those fears. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. There will be companies that absolutely do the wrong thing with it. So there's going to be some of that as well. But I see higher potential with NFTs in gaming to really change the way that games are played. And that's kind of why I'm for it, and why I think that it's ultimately more beneficial than detrimental.
I totally agree with you here. And I think a lot of this fear comes from people assuming that blockchain games will take over the games that we have now. And I don't think anybody wants that. It's just going to be like another option. Some games aren't pay to earn, some are. And some of those that are pay to earn, some of them do it right, some of them don't. And I think it's just going to be similar with blockchain games. And I see actually we have another speaker here, another listener wanting to ask a question. Oak, I can't pronounce your name.
Right, yes.
Oak, yeah. Hello. Yeah. And ask your question.
Yeah, good day, everyone. I'm kind of new into the crypto space, and I was in a room and they spoke about a game, a metaverse game called Upland. So I just want to seek for advice. Is it a good game to spend money on, or does it have a future? That's just my question.
A game called
Upland.
I haven't actually heard of that game, so I don't know. I probably couldn't give advice on what you should spend money on, but yeah, I don't know. Has anyone else on the team here heard of the game?
No, I don't believe that I have. Anybody else?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard of it.
Sorry, nobody here has actually played that game or heard of it, but we wish you luck.
Yeah, and just when it comes to like the game thing too, I mean, a lot of like the games that, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking from my generation specifically, but people are used to are having to spend, like Jordan said, spend money to like level up your character enough to be competitive. Or unlike mobile-based games, like all of them have in-app purchases. And in one of the areas that we're really focusing on is kind of the game space. I talk to a lot of gaming platforms, and it just depends on which model the gaming platform wants to adopt. They want to adopt a Web 2 model where it's play to be competitive, or pay to be competitive, or more of a Web 3 model where it's incentivizing users for their activity, their engagement, and really like you earn tokens, or you earn portions of assets in a tokenized way through NFTs to unlock things based on your activity in the game. So you actually progress to earn, and that rewards the player. Everything goes back to the player then, based on their time spent in the game. So it just depends on which route the games want to take. Looks like we got another speaker here too.
Yeah, totally. We are finishing up soon, but we'll go ahead and take Stocking. I believe we've seen you here before too. Stocking and NFT. We'll answer your questions. We'll start with you, Stocking, if you want to unmute yourself.
Oh, thanks so much. I just wanted to say all hail Ben Millions. And then I just wanted to step in. I thought I heard somebody mention the game Upland, and I'm not sure if I heard that or not. But if you start playing that game, I'm still hunting the treasure. It's like Upland is like a game. You get to buy real world properties, and you can kind of look at the property online. It's kind of neat. And you don't necessarily have to spend any money, but I've for months and months been hunting this treasure that drops, and you can play all the time to find this treasure, and I've been unable to do so. So if anybody has any tips on how to find the treasure in that game, if that's the game that I heard, but I'm definitely all about CKB, and I didn't know that you guys had Celebrity Smackdown, and I'm definitely going to be checking that out, and hopefully Ben's on there as well,
Sweet. Well, we're glad that you could come up here and answer the previous listener's question. I'm glad that we could be the platform to help you guys out there. Sounds like definitely a really cool game. And NFT, if you would like to unmute yourself, feel free to do so.
Oh, hello. I actually mine CKB as well, and I actually do have 7 CKBs, CK5s to be more specific. And within the recent 2 months, there has been a decrease in the amount of coins being mined per day. And I know that this is probably just due to the release of the CK6, more hashing power to the network. But it's obviously going to take, like, the price of CKB is not increasing fast enough due to the decline of the coins being mined. You see? So I just want to know, what do you have in mind for the future of miners of your network?
Sure. So I do want to start off and say that could possibly be due to some of like the politics going on in the world right now. I'm not quite sure where all of our miners are based at all, but in some countries there is some unrest and legality issues with crypto. So that could be the result of that. But I am not quite sure if Jordan, did you want to add to that?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely the price, up and down price, has an influence of how much you're going to make per day. But we can't, of course, we can't talk about the price on this show, and we can't make speculation. There's a lot of people in the Nervos community Telegram. Absolutely go there, and if you want to speculate on price. But in terms of mining and the actual rewards per miner, it's probably, like you said, it's competing equipment. It's probably new equipment, more miners coming onto the scene. It ultimately is a competitive environment, and that's something that's completely out of the control of the Nervos Foundation on purpose. They created the rules with the blockchain, but ultimately it's up to the miners to self-regulate themselves on whether they want to make investments or not. So, I mean, it's just like with every other blockchain that's using proof of work, you are in competition with the other miners. As more miners come onto the scene, as new hardware evolves, the profitability on the older machines will go down. So it's not really anything that we can do about that, because it's more or less kind of a set pot amount that was just put out there and said, for anybody who wants to mine, this is the full pie here, right? The more miners you have, you get a bigger slice of the pie. But as more and more people start buying miners, everybody's slice of the pie gets smaller. And I feel for you because I've been a miner myself. I owned a mid-sized facility. We did really great for a while, and eventually we had to shut down for the exact same reason. It became unprofitable for us. And it's all competition. It's based on your power rates and all kinds of other factors. There's nothing that the foundation can do to help you because they've already put the rules out there in place. It is a decentralized system. There's nothing that we can do personally. But I wish you the best of luck on that. And I would suggest that you talk about to the other community members, especially in the community Telegram channel. There's a lot of other miners in there that are going to be in the same situations, and you can see what their plans are and what they're trying to do, and hopefully you can learn something from them as well.
Thank you so much for the information.
All right. So we are at the end of our show right now. So thank you everybody for tuning in for this, what happened to be an NFT episode unintentionally. And that wraps up episode 33 of Hashing It Out. And we will see you all next week for episode 34. And feel free to go to our Discord, become a member of our Discord, and request topics. If you would like to hear about something, feel free to make those requests on our servers or also just on our Twitters. Totally cool. And this will be up on our YouTube as well. And it actually in the future too, we will be simultaneously streaming to YouTube Live and Twitter Spaces. So we look forward to that. Alrighty. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.